Hello and welcome back to my channel. Can you guys stop running around for just a few seconds, please? Welcome back to my channel. They waited until I finished saying channel though. And welcome back to my channel. Hello and welcome back to my channel. Mojo. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Shayla. I am a horror writer. I just started querying my 89,000 word paranormal horror that I am currently calling Project Marbles. I did announce the actual working title for the book on Instagram because I put up an agent's guide. So if you would like a sneak peek at the title, feel free to go look over on Instagram. And I will be doing a video with the title reveal on here shortly. So for now, we're gonna call it Project Marbles. Project Marbles is set in a southern Appalachian town. It is the story about two heartbroken women who travel to this isolated stretch of the mountain to heal over a breakup, and the other one's mother passed away. They're just trying to take time for themselves and just have a little solo getaway. However, during their trip, they are encountered by masked strangers who rip their identities apart. This is the monthly matcha, and I'm sure if you are not new here, you're like, Shayla, it's the middle of August. Surely you're not doing the monthly matcha already. Well, the answer is you're correct. This is July's monthly matcha. I got behind on publishing videos, and then the last video I did was a new author tag, a get to know me of sorts that I did to celebrate my 34th birthday. Yes, I'm still talking about my birthday. I'm a Leo. We discussed this in the last video. Sorry. Happy birthday to me. And all the other Leos, of course. If you are new here, you probably are wondering what the monthly matcha is. The monthly matcha is my monthly recap of what I read, recap on my writing, and a little bit of life thrown in there that I publish each month. So I hope you're looking forward to a chatty video. If you are, grab your favorite bevy and let's chat. And I actually have matcha this time. It hasn't happened in the last couple of months, but I do have matcha. It's matcha appropriate time. And yeah, this is an iced matcha that I made at home, and it is delicious. So grab your favorite drink and let's chat. The first area we are going to discuss is reading, and this is going to be a relatively short section because I read one book in July. That's it. We'll get into why in a little bit. But for our newcomers, during the book section, you will see me holding up my phone. I am going to be recording this segment. I put up a monthly book report on my SUBSTACK, and it's just easiest for me to record here instead of pulling audio from the video. So that is why my phone is in my hand. The book I read in July is Such Sharp Teeth by Rachel Harrison. I have now read all of Rachel Harrison's books except for the one that is coming out in September. And the other book in her backlist that I have read to round up all of her backlist titles, I read in August, so we will dive into that one next month. But yes, so this was number 4 of 5 that I had read from Rachel Harrison. And it is, if you cannot tell from the cover, a werewolf book. And it's just typical Rachel Harrison style. If you have not read her before, her books are horror novels, but they have a little bit of humor in them. Her characters go through all kinds of fantastical situations that we don't think would happen in our world. The main character in Such Sharp Teeth, Rory, she gets bit by a werewolf at the beginning of the book, and she has to learn to live with her new furry lifestyle. She is visiting her twin sister, who is about to give birth to her first child, and there's a tumultuous relationship with Rory and her mother. It's not quite so bad between her sister and her mother. So her mom comes into town, of course, since her sister is about to have the first grandchild, and we learn about Rory's past. And so not only is she having to deal with her new future, she's also having to deal with her past, with her hairy past. Pun very much intended. Anyways, she also is starting to fall for a guy that she went to high school with. I believe his name is Ian. Don't quote me on that, but that sounds correct. But yeah, the last line of the blurb on the back sums this book up perfectly. This dark comedic love story is a brilliantly layered portrait of trauma, rage, and vulnerability. And I would say the love story is not only between her and the guy she went to high school with, I think it's also between her and her sister, and also her and herself. It's really good. I wouldn't consider it scary. So if you don't like horror because you don't like scary things that are gonna keep you up at night, things that go bump in the dark, then I think you will be totally fine with this. It does not have really any jump scares, and it's a werewolf book, so the beginning is slightly descriptive with the bite that she gets, but the rest of it I think would be fine. She doesn't go around, no, I'm not gonna say that because I don't want to spoil it, because it's just not a scary werewolf book. That's all I'm gonna say. And I want to say I gave this a pretty high rating. I have liked all of Rachel Harrison's books that I've read, and I'm actually going to see her in September for the release of her next novel. I believe it's called Playhouse, something like that. And yeah, she is coming to my city, and I am dying to meet her. So that is the one and only book that I read in July. So yeah, that's the end of reading. Okay, time to move on to writing. Writing is also not too much of an update. I, in the month of July, finished up my draft 5 edits. I had feedback from 2 beta readers and implemented those. Went and scoured over the manuscript as best I could on the line level after having read it lots and lots and lots of times, and I perfected the book as best as I could, and I started querying. I am going to put together a query vlog, so I won't get too much into that here, but by the end of July, I think I ended up submitting, I want to say like 5 queries, and then I submitted the other 3 in that batch the following day in August. So in July, I finished draft 5, I finished the book, polished it up as best I could, and I started querying. And that is July in a nutshell. August is a little bit more layered. There's more things going on in August, so catch me back in just a couple of weeks for August's monthly matcha, and we can dive in a little bit more into writing then. Let's move on to life. Again, so I'm gonna reference my phone for the photo dump that I posted on my personal Instagram. It is a good point of reference for me to remember things that happened a month ago, because my life is like all over the place. So we're gonna reference this photo dump. So if you see me looking down, that is what I'm looking at. So the beginning of July, I went to a local winery with my best friend. It had been a rough week at work, and I just needed like a breather. So what do we say? Mojo's a menace, but we love her. Okay, let's move on. So I went to the winery with my friend. It was a great time. We really, truly 110% enjoyed ourselves. And then my car wouldn't start. Yes. Yeah, wouldn't start. Got it jumped off, got barely down the road, pulled into a gas station, and it was dead. It was just dead. Did not know if it was the alternator, if it was the battery, just could not tell. So I had to get it towed, and then that was an experience in and of itself, and we're just gonna leave it at that. So started off great, didn't end super wonderfully, but you know, I tried, and that's what matters. I work at a university, so the summer was coming to an end. Work was getting a little busier, and I found myself like getting inundated with projects. And so when I was, please stop. So when I was off, I wanted to enjoy the little bit of summer I had left with my friends. So another adventure I went on was with my old college roommate. We see each other 4 or 5 times a year, and she came to visit me, and we went to brunch at one of my favorite brunch spots, and then we walked down the street to the local like tap room and had a couple of drinks and caught up, and that was something that I desperately needed. Again, just a little time to not be thinking about work, not be thinking about writing, and just enjoying some time with one of my longtime friends. In July, I also went to my mom's house, and we had dinner for her. It was me and my sister. My brother couldn't make it, so we went to her house. Her husband cooked on the grill. I made my famous feta dip, and I want to say my sister brought dessert, maybe. I cannot remember it because it's been like 6 weeks, but yeah, so we celebrated my mom's birthday and hung out with her, played games, ate dinner, caught up, and it was a great time. I also went to brunch a second time with my sister and her now fiance. This is the first time that I've spent essentially like one-on-one time with her fiance. She's been to a few family events and to my sister's birthday last year, but that was with her friends. It was a bigger group. So this time it was just my sister and her fiance, and we got to chit chat. We had brunch, and then we came back to my house and watched a movie and hung out and talked, and it was really nice getting to spend a little time with her and my sister. Another event I went to in July was an author signing. I met Candy Steiner. I think I've talked about that signing on a video here on YouTube, but Candy Steiner is a romance author. She was self-published. I want to say for 10 years she was self-published, and she is now working with a publisher and has had some of her backlist titles. Now that publisher has traditionally published those books for her. I want to say it was 2 books, and now a third one will be coming out in October, which is one of her most popular angsty novels. It is a love letter to whiskey. I have not read that one yet. I've read a lot of Candy's books, but I have not read that one, and so I am excited to get that when it re-releases in October. And then I think she will just be working with this publisher moving forward. Don't quote me on that because I'm not positive, but I believe that's correct. I also got invited to attend a caviar event with one of my really good friends who I had not seen in almost a year. She ended up needing to go out of town for work and stayed out of town for quite some time, so we just had never had a chance to catch up. And when she finally made it back in town, she had an event to go to. She is a local like foodie influencer, and so she had an event and asked me if I wanted to join her so we could catch up, and it was for caviar, and I was like, yes please. I've never had caviar before. Yeah, I've got to figure out how to afford caviar in my life. It was so good. It was delicious. Ugh, I can't, my mouth is like watering thinking about it. Yeah, so that was a good event. And then afterwards I had an espresso martini. I felt very fancy for the night. It was fabulous. I also went to dinner with one of my old coworkers. Actually, no, 2 of my old coworkers. It was super nice catching up with them. And one of the coworkers brought a bottle of wine to the restaurant, and they provided bottle service, which was like, I've never had that before. I guess I just had a very fancy month in July. Anyways, so it was great. We had appetizers, we had meals, we had wine, we walked over. The 2 of them got custard. I could not fit anything else in my stomach. It just wasn't gonna happen. It looked delicious, it smelled amazing, but I just couldn't do it. And lastly, I went and visited one of my girlfriends from my previous job before I started working closer to home. And she lives back in the city that I used to work in, and she has a pool in her backyard. Every summer we get together and I'll go to her house and we'll have a girls' night. I'll spend the night, we'll hang out, drink, play games, watch TV or movies, swim in the pool, and just have a really good time. And this time was super special because some other girls that I have worked with but have never hung out with outside of work joined. So I worked in a different unit than my friend whose house I go to, and a handful of the other women that work with her came and joined as well. And so our 2 units like worked together for certain events, but I didn't work with them on a daily basis. So I got to see them when we were working these special events, but beyond that, I didn't see much of them. And so getting to spend even more time with them, but also it being outside of a work environment, was super fun, and I had a blast. It was one of the highlights of my month for sure. I also had dinner with my stepmom during the month of July, and that was a catch up from, I want to say like May or June we were supposed to do it, but things just kept happening and we had to keep pushing it back. So that was nice to get to do that last month. So that's it. I was definitely out around town in July. It was pretty busy, and so far August hasn't been quite as busy, and I am not complaining. I need a break. I cannot wait for the cozier months where hopefully things will be a little bit calmer and quieter around here. So that is it for the July monthly matcha. Thank you so much for joining me. I will be back next week for a more book related video. We are, you know what, I'm not gonna say we are because this is what I'm planning, but we'll see what happens. Even though I mentioned I finished up draft 5 and started querying, I do have a little video coming about the query package, finishing up the synopsis and the elevator pitch and everything like that. So that should be coming next week. Please don't hold me to it. Like I said, things have gotten relatively busy. I work for a university and classes just started, and then I started a graduate certificate program in creative writing, and that just started as well. So I'm trying to work out my new schedule and get some content out for you all. But thank you again for joining, and I will catch you next time. Bye.